waiting for it to say live. Alrighty, ladies and gents, welcome to another live stream. I have no idea what time it is in the USA, so if you're asleep, if you're awake, whatever, welcome to the show. We might get a few more Aussies on this one as well because it is a better time of the day for the Aussies. I don't know, I think the Europeans are probably asleep. But anyway, the cool news is we have our first ever guest. Can you guess who it is? It's the Reacher! Of course it's the Reacher. Of course it's the Reacher. Anyway, kill that music. Oh my goodness. Wow. The Reacher, welcome. How are you, brother?
Yeah, good, man.
What do you think of that? That was loud in our ears, wasn't it?
Oh, that was so loud.
There's like a party going off. G'day, no dice. G'day, exhaustion. As we see, a few people are going to start kicking in here. But today is going to be a good topic, YouTube. We have none better than having this guy in here for this topic. As you can see, the topic of today is hand control versus arm power in arm wrestling. That's a rabbit hole, man, isn't it? That is a real rabbit.
We're about to start spiraling.
Oh, I have a feeling sayings like losing your hand as a choice is going to happen today, and that might.
I think I need my phone to get up a screenshot that we.
Oh my goodness! But anyway, ladies and gents, this is the topic of today, and as per normal, which normal is still kind of we're getting used to it, but this new format, guys, what we're going to do is we're going to give our opinion on this subject matter before we're going to then turn our attention and look at the comments here. And so feel free to put your 2 cents worth in the comments section as we're going. We'll probably talk for 20 minutes or so before we get to that. But then we'll flip over here, we'll look at the questions, and we'll see what's going on, and we'll answer them, and we'll go from there. We'll have a bit of a fun time in the process.
Yeah. Get there?
Yeah. So for anyone who doesn't know who this guy is, Jordan the Reacher, give us a bit of a
special.
What is your story? Who are you?
Bump.
Why are you straight away? Like, what are you known for? Clearly, arm power or hand control?
All arms.
Your arms are actually looking better and better. As I don't know if the lighting in here or what, but
I'll take it. Nah, this is my specialty. Hand control.
Hand control. Okay, so Jordan, obviously a good representative of the hand control department. I don't think I'm not like an arm power specialist.
No.
But I'm more than you.
Yeah.
I'm further down that sliding scale than you.
Yeah.
Of course.
You've put one foot in that rabbit hole.
I have. I've got feet in both camps.
Luckily, I pulled you back to reality.
Well, anyway, but so guys, in tonight's, whatever time it is for you, in the show, we're going to cover hand control versus arm power. We're going to look at the strategies of what that means as an arm wrestler if you've chosen one or the other. Yep. Maybe who should choose arm power, who should choose hand control. Is there a biomechanical preference for either one of those? And hopefully you can then apply that to your arm wrestling as well, because it does shape a lot of the way that you're going to move in tournaments and super matches. So understanding your own body, knowing which one you're going to be more inclined to, when to do what, and is one more important than the other? The big debate.
Like we're just going all over arm wrestling with that kind of intro. It's like we're just covering arm wrestling in general. So
absolutely. This is an absolute can of worms.
Yeah.
This question. It really isn't a simple question, but it opens up some points that I think a lot of new fans to the sport, a lot of novices may not have even, maybe lots of amateurs and even some pros have not even really uncovered or unpacked yet.
Yeah.
Gets into the combat side of it a lot. So let's kick it off. Hand control versus arm power. For me, I feel like arm wrestling, first of all, we have to define arm wrestling as not only a strength sport, but a combat sport. If we look at it as just a strength sport, it becomes a bit more simple, but it's not a strength sport. No. It's a strength sport is a human against an object where the object stays the same for everyone. And you just get to work on your strength.
Lift, move.
Yeah. Basic technique. Not that it's basic technique,
no.
but it's far simpler than this sport. And
absolutely.
Arm wrestling, obviously against another human, everything you do can affect your opponent's access to power. There's a good term. Mm-hmm. Access to power. Mm-hmm. And also denying someone else's access to power, the other side of the coin. So
using your biomechanical advantages.
Yeah. And one thing's for certain is that the longer we spend in this sport, the deeper the knowledge goes. And you don't even know that it goes any deeper until you till you kind of get there, do you?
No.
How many times have we said, I feel like I know a fair bit, and then a year goes by, you look back and you go, I didn't know anything.
Yeah. I look back at some of my technique. I'm like, wow, I thought that was a really good top roll, and now I look at my last year's top roll. I'm like, I've changed that so much.
All right, so straight up, first question to you: hand control versus arm power for you, not for your whole philosophy over the sport, but just for you. What's more important?
Hand control.
Why?
100%. Oh,
Floor's yours. Floor's yours.
It's 90-10. So the way I see it, in arm wrestling, we talk about the chain, right? Your best link is at the top where it most affects your opponent, and then everything from there takes a scale down in its importance, right? You don't need, like, if you've got a great set of lats, it isn't going to be as effective if your hand is going and all you can do is keep pulling towards yourself. It's not going to help. So if your hand control is greater than your opponent's, A, it gives you better speed.
Yes, it does. It really does. Yep.
B, it gives you better access to power. C, it takes away your opponent's access to power. D, it's just better.
It's just better. Yeah. I mean, I can certainly relate to being a novice and facing against other novices. Hand control was king for me. It just totally took away my opponent's access to power.
You had that basic
post
and top roll.
Post and pronation I had.
Yeah, and that's what denied everyone else's access. You'd either hit to the pad or you'd get turned. And the only time you got turned was by bigger and stronger guys, out of your weight class.
And anyone at a novice level that was just trying to drive sideways quickly got turned over.
Yeah, exactly.
But what I experienced was as I climbed from novice to amateur to semi-pro to pro, was that for me, I couldn't, and probably because my hand's not big enough.
Yep.
I couldn't just focus on hand any longer because I got to the point where I took as much hand control as I possibly could, but my arm still went this way. And I went, well, I can't take any more hand.
Yep.
I need arm power now.
Yep.
So have you experienced that yet?
Of course I have. I've found the point where people can take me out of my zone, like take me all the way to the pad, even though I've taken all of their wrist. But then I found what I can do biomechanically with my shoulder, my elbow positioning, everything like that, to increase my own hand control. So I used to always be at the back of the pad, sit there and try and chip away with my top roll. Now I realized, coming forward in the last 2-3 years probably, that I can come forward, use my arm as a leverage block, use my shoulder as a biomechanical advantage to, increase my hand control capabilities and not so much use arm power to stop people from doing that.
Now you mentioned that you use a lot of blocks.
Yeah.
So you're not, when you say a block, is that an arm power thing or is that a connective tissue thing? What
Connective
is that?
tissue.
So you're coiling up and blocking with your damn elbows and
Absolutely.
And I hate it. When he does it, I hate it. It's really hard to beat him. I want to ask you the question about hand control. When you face someone that has immense arm power and they don't have a really much regard for hand control, and they get their shoulder, how do you defend a flop presser that's got huge arm power when you're a hand control based puller?
Anytime someone flop presses you, your best two moves are to either get them out of their shoulder by dragging them out so that you can turn their rotation over, or create the best biomechanical block by coming forward and using your height and pushing towards them to come over the top of them.
One classic match that I remember is you versus none other than Mr. Danny Tesh.
The legend.
The legendary Danny Tesh. Yes. The legendary Danny Tesh.
This is going to bring up quite a few questions.
Once upon a time tried to flop press you, and it looked like he had full shoulder commitment, everything he was in.
Yep.
But you stopped him.
Yep.
You didn't win the match, but you actually had him stopped, and he elbow fouled out, and then you busted your shoulder on the next go. But
no, I busted my shoulder.
In the first one?
Yeah, because when his elbow came off the back, it kept forcing down until
Had his elbow stayed on the pad, would you have beaten him that day, you think?
I 100% felt like that. I had that man dead for rights. He was redline trying to pin me,
Yeah.
and I was the one bleeding. Like I felt like I
And,
was
and that was hand control that you were stopping with.
hand
You
control.
weren't using arm power.
No.
There was no bicep lift really
It
going
was
on.
pushing towards, cupping over the top of his hand,
Mm.
taking all of his rotation access away, and all he had was a flop with supination.
Mm. And you were turning his palm up and
Palm
up and
up
up
and
and
up.
up and up and up. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And guys, that's an interesting feeling. I can speak of that feeling when it comes to being on the receiving end of it.
Mm.
When I arm wrestle Jordan, if I end up on the defensive half, my palm gets constantly just slowly turned and turned and turned and turned and turned. And the more my palm is turned, the less ability I have to go on the offense. And the more it turns, the more Jordan can take it down. And then if I try to come underneath and lift up, it twists the wrist to the point where pain in the wrist really kicks in. And at that point, you're like, I'm either going to break my stuff up here,
Yeah.
which you've done to someone, haven't you? Or I'm going to get pinned. Who? Tell me the story of that. Someone
So that was left arm.
Someone tried to flop press you.
Andy
and
Bosnich.
Andy Bosnich from Victoria.
Yeah.
And you broke his hand.
What was that? 2018 Victoria
Mhm.
state titles.
And he refused to be pinned, didn't he?
Yeah, he really connected in with his shoulder. He got to the point where he was pretty much touching his shoulder, and the moment that they told him to give out his shoulder, the wrist went back, but he stayed in the shoulder position, and I felt a pop, click, and then
he conceded finally.
moved out.
And what happened? He broke the metacarpals in the back of his hand or something like that.
Yeah, from the twist.
So Jordan doesn't break arms; he breaks hands. It's brutal,
Yeah,
man.
if you want to put it that way,
That's freaking brutal. But okay, so that's a teaser there, but on the perspective from the hand control side, I want to speak.
So power.
Yeah, I want to speak of power and arm importance. Obviously, for someone like when I take on Jordan, I know, and to use it to quote Devin Larratt, you don't fight a losing battle. If you can identify something that you can't win in a hard counter sense. Now, a hard counter, for those watching who's never heard that term, hard counter is just force on force, no counter attacking, no tricks, no traps. It's just I'm stronger than you, and the other guy says, "Well, no, you're not." If I try to fight Jordan in hand control, I know it's a losing battle for me, so I straight away don't. But I know that I have greater side pressure in the elbow, and at the elbow, if we exclusively say at the elbow, I probably have better back pressure as well, but it's only marginal.
Yeah.
But I know that I have more power to exert at the elbow joint. What that does for me as an arm wrestler is it's not to take away from hand control, because I still need to have an ability to keep my pronation, no matter what my wrist flexion does. Pronation to me is always a very critical thing.
Has to be.
Because as we just mentioned before, if I get turned palm up, I'm screwed.
Yeah, you don't have that connection through your elbow when your palms.
So I think we
down.
can agree that rotation,
Mm.
whether you're an arm power puller or a hand control based control puller, rotation is critical.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So
because you always see Jerry, he still goes in with his thumb down. You know?
He's not allowing his thumb to be turned
Todd
up.
Hutchings goes in without his wrist, pronated.
Yeah, flop roll, or the Todd roll, as people know it. Yeah, think of the Todd roll. When Todd pins someone, even if his wrist gets busted back, he's pinning with his thumb leading towards the pin.
Yeah.
So that
as
is
much as possible.
That is an indicator that his rotation is still intact, and he's actually won the battle of rotation. So he's still doing that. So rotation is common for both strategies, but arm power can allow. Arm power gives you access to often people associate it with hooking.
Yep.
But it's not just about hooking. It's think about back pressure setup. It's often something that goes hand in hand with high knuckles back pressure. It's something traditionally that you don't like to deal with would be a fast back pressure puller. If their wrist is strong enough, their back pressure is strong enough, they can just ultimately separate you from your body before you can really get that hand control in place.
Yeah.
So arm power definitely has its place. Like, and the weird thing for me is I don't exclusively believe in either one or the other. I started as a hand control puller,
and then you realized that you needed power.
I added a bunch of power, and now where I sit firmly in the camp of both these things. I love both of them, and I think for me, I can't actually survive without either of them. So
Where would you put your scale of
mm,
necessity for hand control to arm power?
for me, I'm firmly 50-50. Given
Firmly 50.
firmly 50-50. Yes. I'm not giving either one the win here. And the reason I say I'm 50-50 on it is because of the weight category I compete in. I compete in a weight category where I don't feel like I'm tall. I don't feel like I'm short.
Mm.
I feel like I'm pretty much average in the biomechanical range that's possible. And so, therefore, as I face as many opponents that are biomechanically advantaged to take my hand
Mhm.
as I do disadvantaged to take my hand.
Mhm.
If I take on someone like a Lachlan Adair, I'm looking for hand control big time. I want
Yeah.
to get that fast because I know I'm not going to bang in on his arm and win there. But if I take on you, I don't want to make the match about hand control. I want to get onto your arm at the quickest possible. So I'm both. But if you are someone who is down that Sasha Andreev sort of end of the scale, I don't know how tall Sasha Andreev is, but he must be no more than like 5'4" or something like that. I don't know.
I'll give him 6. 5'6".
Probably is. I don't know.
Yeah.
He looks like Jathan Statham's mini me to me. I don't know if you agree. Does Sasha Andreev? Hope you're watching, Sasha. Hi, if you are. Doubt it, but you never know. You reckon he looks like Jason
Comment
Statham?
comes up.
Yeah, next minute, Sasha's calling us out. But
Have fun.
yeah, I'd actually love to pull Sasha. I'd love it because he's a great example of arm power, isn't he?
Yeah.
Short
And
guy.
tendons.
Yes, yes. Last night's topic, tendon power. That man just bangs in with a supinated wrist and says, "What are you going to do about it? I'm just going to do this." It's only really Todd Hutchins that does it better than Sasha. I think Sasha is probably the second best that comes to mind immediately when it comes to just supinated side pressure.
Yeah.
But Sasha is a great example of an arm power based puller. He doesn't really care for much hand control. He cares for getting on his opponent's bicep. The reason arm power based pullers supinate is because when they supinate, it gives them, using the side of their hand, an avenue to attack your opponent's shoulder and eventually, if you get through, their bicep. And they're not fighting to bend their wrist. They're just saying, whatever, have it. And they go from there. Danny Tesh, another good example of it, really. He's
Right.
arm power
Defensive
central, isn't
catch, and I will drive through and then come over.
he? So it's not necessarily right to say short people should be arm power, tall people
Gosh,
should
no.
be, because tall hookers that use arm power,
Devon.
like Devon, like Mike Aiello, like Danny,
Mhm.
they've proven that you can be a long limb person and have arm power as your strategy and go a long way.
But do you think that it's Devon's hand that's making people stop in those matches, or is it the arm power?
It depends on which Devon can do all of it. That's
Yeah,
the thing. Devon,
exactly.
there's matches where Devon stops with hand, and there's matches where he carves, bullies and stops with his, I guess, arm power.
Yeah.
But he uses a very connective tissue based hook. He's not a muscular style hooker.
And he searches to take that hand away from people with supination cup, and then brings them back into his zone, and then controls them from there.
Yeah. So Devon's not a good example to highlight either because he
No.
does both.
Yeah.
He's got it all. Devon's a very well-rounded package, but so it's not necessarily true to say tall guys are hand control, short guys are arm power.
Mm.
There are hand control based short guys. If I try to think of one, Arsene Liliev was one.
Yeah.
Giannis Amelin's another. Guys with short arm, Vladislav Krasovskis. If you ever grip up with Vladislav Krasovskis, you feel hand control on him. His hand is like holy. His arm is a short, compact thing, which makes him very explosive. He can really finish fast, but it's his hand control that he focuses on a lot. He's not a he's an offensive hand control as opposed to. There we go. I think that might be something. If you are a hand control based puller who is short, you tend to be very offensive.
Well, that's Engen Terzi.
Mm-hmm.
Very explosive, very hand controlled, taking away people's access to power really fast.
Mm.
You know,
tall guys with hand control have seemingly more opportunity to be defensive pullers. Tom Holland, Devin Larratt, yourself. Not to say you guys can't flash pin people.
Yeah.
I know you have a
But
very good ability to flash pin when all the circumstances are correct. But when
Yeah.
you're in a balanced match, more often than not, you're stopping, suffocating, finishing, aren't you?
Yeah.
You're flash pinning people that you're a league above.
Usually,
Essentially.
yeah.
Essentially. Yeah. Except for that time you flash pinned me.
And Torben.
And Torben.
Last year. Sorry, Torben.
Yeah. Interesting stuff there. Okay, so we've been talking for 20 minutes about the dynamics of hand control.
That's been 20 minutes.
20 minutes already. It goes quickly, doesn't
Yeah.
it? So we
Rabbit
are
hole is
we are at
deep,
the time
people.
where we have to answer the ultimate question. We already know your answer. Hand control, arm power. For you, I want you to answer it for you,
Yep.
and then I want you to answer it for the sport.
Okay. For me, actually, no, I want to do it on 3.
Okay. For you, the sport.
And for newcomers.
Okay. Yep.
All right.
Go for it.
I think that, gets a lot of the audience,
Yep.
For me, I'd go 75-25.
Hand.
Hand.
Yep.
Yep. For the sport, I'd say where it's at the moment, I'd say it's 60-40.
Hand.
Power.
Oh, power. Look out. Okay, cool.
I'd say that in a general sense, that's where most people are at.
Yeah. Yep.
And then I'd say for newcomers, it should be 75-25 hand.
I largely agree. For me, I'm 50-50 when it comes to my own personal. I think the sport should be more hand focused than not, because ultimately wrist flexion, the person with the strongest wrist flexion usually wins.
Yep.
Even if the arms are a thing. But hands dictate the terms of where the battle will be fought.
Yeah.
Once that has been established,
It goes all to power.
arms then determine the winner.
Yeah.
So when you and I arm wrestle, we're inevitably going to find a point where our hands stop. It might be here, might be right in the middle, might be wherever. Wherever our hands stop, it's then a question of who can go sideways harder, given this is where our balance point is of the hand. So the hand battle actually happens first most of the time. Most of the time. Except for the Danny Teshes, Sasha Andreev, Todd Hutchins of the world, who just say, I don't care, I'm supinating and throwing my shoulder at you, like a baseball.
But that's them still giving it and dictating the terms of where the hand control lies.
Hey, that's the inverse of keeping your hand or losing your hand is a choice, isn't it?
Yeah.
Those guys are voluntarily straight away saying, have my pronation. I don't want it. And you can I'm not even going to try to get cup. I'm just going to stay flat.
Yeah.
They're giving that so they gain something else, aren't they?
Yeah.
And that gets into the whole other technical conversation of when to try to keep hand control. And
folks, is for another episode.
Oh my goodness me! All right, let's leave that there and let's go and look at some of the questions. We got 51 people watching at the moment, and we've got looks like a bunch of questions that we can address. I'm going to scroll back at the top and have a look at what there is, and we'll go from there. Palin says send nudes, Jordan. Just okay.
Just getting screenshot that one.
Screenshot that. Send nudes to Palin. He's after him. Exhaustion. Devin Larratt on the podcast. Yeah, we will get Devin on here eventually. Toddzilla Files. Yeah, some good information in the Toddzilla Files on this YouTube channel. Blaze Car. The fight is hand to hand, not bicep to bicep. It's the main part. Hand to hand versus bicep to bicep. It is. The sport's called arm wrestling, isn't it? It is in fact hand and wrist as the biggest priority, with a few exceptions. So, Blaze, I agree, but I disagree.
Yeah.
What brand of mayonnaise is in my fridge? From DVT583. I have a Praise mayonnaise, man. What are you?
I think I'm a Heinz.
Heinz? Oh, gee whiz. I don't know about that one. Praise is good. I've had Praise for years. Anyway, random question, but we're here for you, people. We will answer your questions. Chris Langdon, no cap. Favorite flavor? Oh, what? Favorite flavor of? I don't even know what that is. I don't know. Juice? Favorite flavor of Chris Langdon? I don't know. Sorry, Chris. I don't know what you're asking. TM trivia. I was just looking up this topic yesterday, so I'm glad you are talking about it. TM trivia. It is.
See?
It's a can of worms. This one. Like we've just touched on the surface of it here.
Mm.
Really, how do you even identify? And here's a good question that this one's made me think of. How on earth do you identify what you should improve on, in your opinion?
Okay, so when most people start out, what you need to improve on is your technique
Mm.
more than anything, and then from there, once you know your basic techniques and you've got them down pat, then you can identify where you are weak. Like
Mhm.
if you're just trying to top roll, but your pronation's doing these wobbly ones, probably a good idea to iron that out with a
Yeah.
band and get that ironed out nice and slow, you know. But if you're coming in after doing 40 years on a mechanic,
Hmm.
in a mechanic shop, and your
You're
wrist
solid. You're
wrist
solid in
is
the wrist,
iron, and you can turn it any way you want.
but your arm
But
goes down.
but every time that you go sideways, you get some inner elbow.
Mm.
You know, you should probably start doing a
So
little.
so it is largely, of course, dependent upon not only.
Everyone goes down their own path. We aren't going to set you on a path that you need to follow.
Mm.
You need to find where you are, lacking, and slowly develop
And you
yourself.
often feel that through whoever it is you're chasing.
Yeah,
Whether
absolutely.
it's in your club, whether it's a super match coming up, you'll be able to say, "Well, I'm going to need more hand for this guy, or I'm going
Yep.
to need more arm for this guy." It's a guess sometimes, but you inevitably find out the truth when the match happens, and you either lose or you win, or you go, okay.
Yeah.
And you feel so. Table time will give you a sense of what the problem is, and then you go away and train it.
Yep. Absolutely.
And the next question is training it in the gym. How is there a right way to train hands? Is there a right way to train arms? Like, it's fairly obvious. Do you try to combine them both? Do you try to keep your hand and arm relative to each other, or do you go all in on one and make one
I'm not going to
less?
comment on that.
Interesting question. I'm gonna ask Jordan, I actually know the answer to it, but
Mm.
it's a very fascinating point for you guys. This guy's biceps aren't like they do look good.
From that angle.
From that angle, they look good. They look good,
They
but
look
you got to
great.
realize they're not enormous relative to other arm wrestlers that he is balanced with. Yet, when you get on straight back pressure,
Mm-hmm.
you can lift phenomenal numbers.
Yep.
Very much equivalent to guys that do have big biceps. Why is that?
Because I'm using other muscle groups to
So
compensate.
there's a lot of muscles in your forearm
Yep.
that actually assist in what people think is only going to be handled by the bicep.
Yep. So I can preach a curl 45 kilos
Mhm.
and go straight down all the way back up.
Mm.
And guys at the gym are like,
They're looking at your biceps going, it's not
dude,
adding
that
up.
is not meant to happen. And that was me at 78 kilos. Like, so, and then, people look at me and go, how are you doing that? I supinate in a little bit. I let my arm open, but as I bring it up, I supinate and then I pronate to finish.
Yeah, so you're
I'm
arm
not going
wrestling the
straight
dumbbell
down.
all the way up.
Yeah. Oh,
And John Brzenk's another interesting case study. We all know John Brzenk is the greatest arm wrestler of all time.
yeah.
And we also know, you may not know YouTube, but John hates the gym with a passion.
Yeah.
Hates it. He preaches table time only. And he will say, look, if he's going to have to go in the gym, the only thing he says he'll do is a couple of wrist curls. When I was last in Arizona, I forced John into a gym.
Eric Wolf's.
Say again?
Eric Wolf's.
Yes, at Eric Wolf's home in Arizona, we took John to the gym, and he looked so nonchalant. He didn't care. He was like, "Really, am I here in this gym? I can't believe it." But we got him on the back pressure, which is in a lot of people's opinions an arm power based thing. And John, who is known for his dominant hand, had very strong back pressure relative to all of us. He picked up way more than I could. I couldn't move what John was moving. And he is a hand control dominant arm wrestler. His arms
with a bad shoulder.
He's got a bad shoulder, and he will admit that his biceps strength, his arm power is not that amazing.
Yeah.
John's arm power is not that amazing, yet he still has done all of it that he has done.
Yep.
So back pressure is linked to hand control.
Absolutely.
But it's not linked. Hand control isn't directly linked in the same fashion to side pressure, is it? Like, We're not talking about access to power.
Uh,
Well, I'm saying
But isn't it?
I don't know. I'm asking these questions. We're exploring.
To have good side pressure, don't you need to have access to it?
Well, is Todd Hutchins? Yes, we talked about rotation before, but if you stay fully supinated,
Mm.
um, that you're not actively contracting
Mm.
your wrist flexion,
Mhm.
nor are you rotating. If you're
So
just
if
supinating,
Jerry Cataract flop presses onto Todd's wanting to supinate for side pressure, does he have as much side pressure here?
hang on. If
Jerry
Jerry flops
flops,
onto
Todd trying to supinate and side pressure,
Mhm.
what happens?
Well, I think Jerry, as we saw it, Jerry just boom straight through.
Because Todd doesn't have access to side pressure.
But it was
If
superior
Todd
arm
gets-
power it was superior shoulder commitment. Jerry has better shoulder here than Todd has here, and so bulldozed. I just don't think. What I'm saying is, I don't think hand control has a very drastic effect on this.
Mhm.
In a supinated position, this is largely a hand control irrelevant, with the exception of finger containment.
Mhm.
Is largely irrelevant, and that's just connective tissue integrity. And your obliques need to do the work. But
peck.
anyway, we went down a big rabbit hole on that question. Let's get back to some more
That
questions.
was like 5 minutes of that rabbit
yeah,
hole.
whoever asked that question, I don't even, think, I don't even think it was a question. It was just a point, wasn't it? So, what have we got? Case of Corona, a few hot ones right now is just too perfect from No Dice. Glad you're enjoying the Coronas. Everyone's forgot about Corona now. Anyway, it's old news, apparently. Great setup from Jonathan. Thank you. Oh, Blaze Carr, message retracted. Ian E, message retracted. I wonder what that was. They must have said.
We missed it.
They must have said something juicy. Gee whiz. Both of you gents retracting messages. Shane Carey, yo, Shane Carey. Look at this. See this big green writing?
Yep.
That means Shane Carey has been a supporter of Pound for Pound Armwrestling channel for over 3 months.
Oh, awesome.
Salute to you, Shane Carey. Thank you very much. Blaze Carr, definitely can't have one without the other. Best to be both. Yeah, I agree. 50-50 makes sense because why limit either? Train both train both of them to their max.
Actually, on that 50-50 point,
yeah,
I'd like to bring it up that if your hand is far more superior than your opponent's, say a quarter, but yet you're still at the same level, where would you rather be?
So, well, that's kind of you and me.
Yeah.
We're at the same level.
Yeah.
In the sport, realistically, we're at the same level.
So would you prefer to have more hand, or would you prefer to have more, like, be battling with the arm?
You're saying if I'm trying to beat you, if I have a match coming up against you, I would train. I certainly wouldn't train.
Or if you were in my position, would you prefer to have the hand, or would you seek power?
For you, like if I was coaching you to beat me, I would say you already know you can defeat my cup, so you don't need more pronation.
Yeah.
I would say that more cup for you is always going to be helpful because that's going to prevent my rotation. So I would be training cup and side pressure if I was you to beat me. And if I was me to beat you, I again wouldn't be training this. I'd be training the exact things you're trying to block, pronation. And for me, I'd actually train back pressure to try to just separate you from the inevitable.
So you're saying a little bit of arm, a little bit of hand on each.
Yeah, because we really understand each other's style a lot. We know where when the shit hits the fan, we know where it lands.
Yeah.
So we know what to train. But when you don't know the ultimate balance point with your next opponent, you do have to guess.
Yeah.
And if you're guessing, you do your best to analyze that opponent and say, well, look how they beat their last 10 guys. Look how they lost to their last 10 guys. I guess I'm going to need this based on the length of their arm, all that sort of stuff. You gather as much intel as you can. But that's why round one, I lose matches because I guess it wrong.
Yeah.
But if you're adaptable, you go on to win. 8 super matches in a row now on right. I'm successful, having had lost the first round in 6 of those occasions. 6. Yeah, nasty stuff. Anyway, what else we got? Sasho is 5'4", apparently. Yeah. Oh. Is there a Jordan versus Danny video out there?
Yes, there is.
There is. I will dig it up for you, gentlemen and ladies, if there's any ladies in these 67 people watching. Statistically, there should be 1.5 women watching based on how many YouTube subscribers are female. So to the 1.5 women in here, welcome. But yeah, I'll get the video for Jordan versus Danny. It's very, very, very impressive.
Not that long,
It's
but
back in 2016, wasn't it? Nationals
Sydney.
2016. You were 80 kilos, pulling up in the 90 kilos
Yeah.
to try to hunt Danny to
Yeah.
make a point.
Yeah.
And you almost made it. You just blew your shoulder.
Yeah.
Okay.
Crack on.
Chilled Man forgot this was live. He thought he was watching a recording.
Oh.
Lieutenant Scroats, what about Carteret? Yeah, I think we've covered Carteret a fair bit. He is an exception to the rule because he just makes himself so committed to one end of the spectrum. But he still has
He has the
he
fundamentals.
has the pronation, which is still part of hand control.
As Devon always says, he's got everything else. He just doesn't, use it in the top matches, against those sorts of people.
Stronger than every woman on earth is saying, does Lachlan Adair have a chance against Kochak? We were big fans of Kochak in 2015. And Kochak, I believe, is the current 105 kilo WAF world champion. I haven't seen him pull people like Krasny. He wasn't at Zloty because he's in that band split thing. But so you'd have to say no because Kochak's experienced off the start. He's much more well-rounded.
Yeah.
If they went, all right, let's slow pull.
If he can beat Marcio, then like the way he did, I'd say that Lachlan doesn't get his access to power.
Yeah. Yeah, I think if Lachlan has access to power equally with Kochak, I think it's a war.
Yeah.
But I would back Kochak to deny access to power.
Yeah.
At the end of the day. Because he's well-rounded. He can top roll, he can hook, he can do everything.
Shirts.
You do. You have his shirt.
Signed and everything.
Oh, look out.
Before he was something. Just saying.
Very good. Christian Dole, you've caught us live. Welcome, brother. Chilled Man. What else we got? Looking. How do you get those posters? I want one. Hit up the Mazarenko crew. That's where they came from.
Yep.
All those PAL types. What could you suggest for a minor bicep tear? It really demotivated me when it comes to training. Corbin.
I'm going to take a Devon approach on this one.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever you can do that doesn't hurt
is good. Yeah.
That's where
That's the
hit
simplest
that
answer.
Right
Never
there.
stop.
Yeah.
Never stop. And just don't hurt.
If you can just supinate, if you can just do wrist rise whilst you're supporting your arm on the edge of a table, just isolate so that you're not using your bicep and make your hand.
Phil Rasmussen, I trained with Phil Rasmussen, the Australian Arm Wrestling Federation president, just 2 days ago. He's just come out of surgery. He's just got his arm out of a sling. He did his subscap.
Yeah.
And he's putting his hand on the table already and gripping up. And he's just squeezing and he's just slightly rotating. And there's no side pressure. And so he's doing whatever he can that doesn't hurt. So, yep. Good answer, Jordan. All right. From Mohammed Tamir Rizwan, how did Brzenk get his hand so strong and why did no other arm wrestler get that amount of hand strength?
Table time from day dot.
Table time
the
from
day he was born to the day he still lives.
He grew up as an arm wrestler. He grew up with his brother Bill being older and stronger than him, and he grew up with his dad being I believe a low-level pro arm wrestler. And John just wanted to beat him, and he wanted to beat his uncles and his cousins, and he said every day he would arm wrestle his brother and his dad until he could beat them. And that took until he was, I think, 20. He was actually world champion, I believe, when his dad could still beat him.
Yeah.
And so it took him a while because his dad knew him so well and knew how to beat John. But John, through the years of where growth hormone is active at its most and your body's putting all of its parts together, he was telling it, become an arm wrestler, become an arm wrestler.
Pretty much.
And look, who's to say he may be a genetic anomaly as well?
Yeah,
he probably is, because his cupping is stupid. It doesn't.
I reckon that just comes from exactly where he's.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a genetic anomaly. I think it's just
it's environmental.
Yeah,
I believe so too. And that's the exciting thing about where the sport's now is there are hundreds, if not thousands, of kids now that are doing what John did, and even more so. Look at the Kazakhs.
My daughter in 8 years.
Yeah, your daughter's a killer, man. I think she's going to be a monster. Anyway, next question. From TM Trivia, I'm new and was training pronation using a book bag strap around my thumb and started feeling nerve damage in my thumb. Have you nerve damage? Yes. Welcome to arm wrestling. You are in your first couple of months, couple of years, maybe. You're gonna go into matches. There's gonna be a ready go, and at high intensity, you're gonna slip or something. Someone's thumb's gonna dig into you, and you're gonna walk away going, I can't feel my hand. Like my whole hand's gone, or all the way down my forearm feels numb.
Can't feel my fingers anymore.
Yeah, it's happened to me on just about every finger I've got on my hand. But the good news is my hands are back. I'm essentially 99%
Yeah.
feeling is back. But I remember the biggest one for me was from my pinky all the way down in a triangle. It spread to about that wide. I could scratch here, couldn't feel a thing. Nerve damage happens in arm wrestling. But
Couldn't feel
the
them.
nerves repair, and I believe you become conditioned to it, where they're a bit more resilient the second time
Yeah.
around. So.
The top two parts of my fingers I couldn't feel for like about the same amount of time.
Yep.
It happens.
All right, we've got a couple of people adding some comments about the Eddie Hall's bicep tear. Thanks for that contribution, chilled man. Jordan, what do you do for a living? Do you train? Do you get to train arm wrestling as part of your work?
Oh,
So
kind of.
you kind of you squeeze it in where
I,
possible.
I make everything work the way I need it to.
Yeah,
I pull around 200-kilo glass bins doing lap drags.
yeah, nice. Someone's saying, please increase the volume. Too late. This is where we're at. Sorry, should have read that earlier. What else we got? Any more questions? Looking at lots of comments, all good comments. Do you think it's possible to become a champion with one dumbbell and a rope? Technically, yeah. I do.
The only other thing you need is a table and another human, and you're good.
Yeah,
like that. That's
arm
it.
wrestling really is a fantastic sport that you don't need fancy equipment to train for it. You
No.
really can. A rope, you can do just about everything you need with a rope with
Bike
hand
tie
and wrist.
tube, old bike
Yeah.
tie tube, just as good as a
Yep.
resistance band.
All right, wrist and fingers training, rising through fingers, what to do. Oh, sorry, wrist and fingers hurt when training, rising, what to do. Lighten the weight, do more reps till they stop hurting.
Yep.
Never do something that causes an acute pain. Touched on it before
Yep.
with the Devon Larratt thing.
Yep.
Do as much as you can that doesn't hurt. Going to the edge of pain is a good thing.
Yeah.
Feeling it, identifying where the pain is, good, but don't actually cause any acute pain. What is it that has given John the ability to beat the giants of the sport? Strong cup, strong pronation, the best out there for a long time. What's the most beneficial metric of hand size for arm wrestling? Length, width, and in terms of arm wrestlers, what length hand is considered a long hand? I don't think there's any one like this is the
I'm
biggest
not
advantage.
going to say that at all.
You have a long hand.
Yep.
Your hand is reasonably wide, but it's not hugely wide.
No.
But you have very long fingers.
Very long.
You have
very
long metacarpals.
Yeah.
Let's hold up side by side. I don't know if you can see that. It's hard to do. Oh, that was really hurting my wrist just to rotate like that. Oh my goodness! But you have a long hand, which gives you a set of tools. A long hand allows for greater dragging ability because you can secure.
Yeah.
At the same
Gives
time,
you better hand control.
At the same time as being secure on this side of your opponent, because your hand's long, you can also have your hand out a little bit, giving you pronation. So dragging is great for big hands.
If you've got a super wide hand, supination and hooking is brilliant.
Wrist flexion and canceling out anyone else's pronation if you've got a wide hand.
Yep.
If you have a tiny little hand, your own pronation and wrist rise is a great weapon.
Short forearms, base power is right there. Like if you can get a strap to be, anywhere close to your elbow with a short arm, guess what? You are in your power, like straight away.
Yeah.
And that's what you should focus on. If you can keep your wrist up, or if you can keep supinated, straight in. Like my brother Aaron. Once he gets into a coiled hook, it's so hard to get out. Like even now, like it's still hard. Like using good biomechanics and using your leverage correctly is 100%.
Yeah. So I think the ultimate answer is there. Every shape of hand presents and gives you a different set of opportunities to employ.
Yeah.
So there is no. That's the one again. One of the beautiful things about the sport is every shape and size can be elite.
Absolutely.
All right. Can you do a series with Jordan about setups and denying access to different styles? We certainly can. We'll do that on the table another day. But what happened to my super match with a big Kiwi MMA fighter? Coronavirus stopped it. We can do that one still. I'm happy to do that one. Big Marcus Satirai. And it looks like we're getting to the bottom of these. Ryan, Jesus is coming soon. Fantastic. Thanks for that one. If you were to rewrite Over the Top with current arm wrestlers, who would you like to see as the hero? Who would the Sly Stallone character be?
Don't know. Never seen the movie.
What? Hang on, what? What? You haven't seen Over the Top?
No.
Are you just like you've now become one of those people that's like, oh, I haven't seen Game of Thrones. I'm so cool.
Yeah.
Is that what you are now? You're holding on to that
I'm
just
like,
to be cool?
every time I see like the little clip that someone puts up on Facebook, I'm like, it's so cringeworthy now. I'm like, I don't want to.
Can you believe that
it.
he hasn't seen Over the Top? Oh my goodness, it's not a bad movie. It's for a 1987 movie. It's not a bad movie. It's not a bad movie.
Honest opinion.
No, it's all right. That's all right. It's better than the Champion movie that came out from South Korea that was about arm wrestling. That I struggled to watch that. I watched that on a flight to the US one time, and I was like, I'm going to sit through this just because I'm an arm wrestler and I can't bail out on it. But if I wasn't an arm wrestler, I was bailing way earlier. But Over the Top, no, that's good. All right, guys, we have been on here for 46 minutes, so I reckon we're going to wrap it up.
Yep.
And leave it there. But guys, thank you so much for being here on the show today.
Yep.
The questions,
for all your questions,
the conversations are always good. The numbers were solid. I wasn't sure, given that the US is kind of late at night, and I think Europe's asleep, and Aussies are at work. I wasn't sure if we get good numbers, but we're sitting here at 67 people live right now. So, guys, thank you for being here on the show. Hit share for me. If you don't subscribe yet, chuck a subscription down. Yeah. Only doesn't cost you anything.
If you're liking this content, then hopefully there'll be more of it in the future. Now that you've got this great setup and you can go from one camera to the next.
Oh, there's me. Look at that. And we're gonna get on the wall behind me a live subscription counter at some point, and it's gonna make a little ding noise every time someone.
That's a pin.
Yeah, we might put that's a pin on there. I don't know. I got to get that's a pin on this board here.
Oh, you do.
Yeah.
So need.
So anytime someone says something good, that's a pin. That's a pin. You got to give it that Indian Kiwi accent for it to really come through good. But anyway, guys, we're gonna leave you. Thank you for being on the show, and now got to work out how to end this live stream. So we'll catch you next time, guys. All right, there's the music. How goes the music doing it? What? I don't know, it's very loud for us. I don't think it's as loud for you as it is for us, but it's very loud. All right, guys. See ya. Oh, there's the crowd goes wild too. Crowd goes wild. All right, we're out of here. I think it's... Oh, there we go. We're gone.